Well, hey man, I don't want to take away too much time from
Well,
this desktop game. So,
hold on, why don't we get on it then?
yeah.
I mean,
Brian, did you have any announcements or anything you want to talk about before? I mean, I'm sorry, I just want to just make
no,
sure.
it's okay. I'll get set up while you go.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, sure. I am working on the next update to the Corona textbooks, so that will hopefully be ready here in the next month or so. But if anybody finds bugs or problems or has any observations for improvement, I'll be happy to receive those as I'm working on the next revision.
Now, you work at a major university, right?
I work at a university.
University, okay.
The distinction of major, they think they're major.
Well, yeah. I mean, we all think we're major, right? I mean, we're not talking
Right.
about what is that? I don't even know the terms like the Big Ten schools or whatever. Right? But I'm
Right,
talking
yeah,
about.
yeah, this isn't Big Ten.
But another university picked up your books recently. Can you talk about that?
I don't know that I can
We can?
talk about it, but yeah. Well,
we can call it a major Texas university, at least within Texas.
We can call it, yes, we can say a major Texas university has also picked up the textbooks for the coming term,
Okay.
so which I'm very excited about. It's very cool.
I just want to highlight the fact that it's not just indies who are buying the book, which is great. I mean, I'm sure you appreciate all of those sales.
I do, every one of them.
But it's also high schools and universities who are picking up these books and then turning around and teaching entire.
It's coast to coast here in the U.S. and even in Canada, the U.K., Australia, New Zealand, as well as I got an email this morning from a teacher, a university teacher, high school teacher, does both in Israel. That's using the textbooks for his classes. So. Which there is a Portuguese version, there's a Spanish version, there's the English version. We're trying to get more versions of the book out there. That does take time, and I appreciate my translators immensely. But yeah, it's being used in many countries, but especially English-speaking countries.
Yeah, I think it's exciting that there's a whole new generation of developers who are coming up on Corona. So. And I say generation like so these are 20-somethings, whatever, or it could be teenagers or whatever, right? But this is Corona is a strong enough tool that they're like, we can use this to teach, and they can have those skills and go out into the marketplace.
Yes, and it's being used because so many students are now going into their first experience developing mobile apps for major companies. Those companies now are shifting to Corona, where they may have been just purely native before, and they're seeing that advantage of being able to publish to multiple platforms with press of a button. It's usually very few changes that have to be made.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's very interesting. Yeah, and every companies are after cost savings and more exposure these days. So I think Corona's in a great place.
Yes, so it is happening. I'm still a firm believer. I actually every year go through and review all of the major tools that are available for doing cross-platform publication, and Corona, in my opinion, is still one of the best tools available. The fact that we can make business apps and develop games, and now be able to publish to desktop as well. That's amazing. That's exciting as a developer. I've got several projects of my own in the works that I'm planning on publishing to all the different platforms available to us.
Awesome. Yeah. Well, there's more exciting stuff coming soon too. That's all I got to say about that.
That's all you can say at this time.
Who is that character? That's all I got to say about that.
I don't know, but I think it's from Hee Haw, maybe. I don't know.
I remember. Oh man. So,
don't crack open that box.
oh my God. All right, gentlemen. First of all, Brian, I just want to say congratulations quickly.
Thank you.
I know it's very exciting when your books had already been, but the more international they go, the more exciting it gets.
Yes.
So it's always kind of exciting to say, oh, I got a client, somebody reading my book in Japan. What's up with that?
Yes, That's I need. Your books are going places you've never been. It's exciting as an author.
Yep. Unless they try to call you on Skype, which has happened to me. But anyways.
Yes.
Okay, so I made a promise last week, and I'm going to break it a little bit, but I promise not to do it again. I know you can't trust me now that I've broken my promise. But my promise last week was that we were going to continue to work on exploring concepts and ideas in desktop development in order to get us into an actual game development. And part of that was I was going to keep every experiment that we looked at together in this desktop games exploration app for you to look at. The part I broke was there used to be 2 entries here for looking at cameras and setup, and I put them together in one. So now number 1 is what used to be number 1 and 2, but I will not do that again. Everything you see now will stay where it is. It just seemed really super boring for me to have 2 buttons here, two idea examinations which were basically the same. So the first one, we're not even going to talk about it other than to say that it is an examination of movement, the keyboard, which is what I'm pressing the keyboard left, right, and up and down, and of the camera, which we won't go into how the cameras work at this point. We've talked about cameras before, and we will talk about cameras again in the sense of, I'm seeking a word here, it's not coming to me. We'll talk about cameras again from the perspective of a desktop game, which is, it's not significantly different from a mobile game, but we might choose some different camera mechanics for a desktop game. So, escape. The things we're going to talk about today are some more exploration things that I did to get us to making a game, and it's going to be sort of a light code day. We're definitely going to look at some code here briefly, but what I wanted to do with this episode was to stress that since we're not coming into this game with a fixed concept, like previous games we always said, oh, we're going to clone so-and-so game. So it was really easy because I can go and look at all the mechanics and I knew exactly what we needed to do. This time around, we're kind of stretching our legs. I'm stretching my legs. It's ironic that I'm kind of coming back into desktop development from having done it a long time ago with another engine, with the Torque game engine, and now I'm coming back to it. And it's like I've got to remember all these things, and not knowing exactly what we want our game to do, it gives me the freedom to explore some different mechanics before we settle on them. So enough said. The things that I want to talk about today are the question of, do we use a reticle or do we not use a reticle? And I'll explain what a reticle is in a minute. And along with that question of using a reticle, how do we aim when we're shooting? Because this is going to be a shooter. And then let's take a look. Then I want to take a look at, I've given myself notes, I might as well follow them. I also added some artwork in for zombies, because we said there were going to be zombies in our game. And so I want to take us on a tour of the concept of using other people's art or free art and how you would get that into a game on desktop or on mobile, but for this case, for desktop. And then we'll just have enough time. I want to talk about how those choices to use somebody else's art or your own art will quickly affect the way your game can be written and the things you can do with your game. In other words, art influences the design.
Oh, wow, that was interesting. Can you hear that echo?
Yeah, that's because
because you muted. Oh, sorry. Okay. Well, anyway, I just want to say briefly that I'm glad we're going to address this topic because I always get caught up in the art side of things. I don't necessarily get caught up in the code. I'm like, okay, the code is pretty straightforward. But then when I go to look at how to design characters or scenery or whatever, then I just don't feel as comfortable knowing how it's all going to fit together, right? There's so many X factors in that it always is a kind of a friction point for me. So I'm glad we're going to talk about that.
I'm glad too. I'm glad you're glad because it's actually a really important topic because people just don't even think about it, or like yourself, they realize it, but they don't know how to address it. They don't know how to position themselves to deal with it. And so I'm not going to give you any magical answers here, but I'm going to put some things in people's heads to sort of set them on the path. It'll be more clear as I talk